Hello one and all, Jasper here, and I want to apologize to you all for how long it's been since I posted a video. Now I could lie to you and say it's because for the past 4 weeks I punched in over 300 hours of work, or that I haven't been getting that itch to really write or record. But the truth is, this is my 70th video, meaning I will no longer have 69 videos on my channel. It's a tragedy, I know, and I considered starting a second channel to circumvent this, but that was only delaying the inevitable. So please, if you would be so kind, a moment of silence. Thank you. Now, back to the planned video, which is a partial sequel to my What If Pokemon Were in Westeros, where I assigned Pokemon to different houses. It's a lot of dumb fun, and if interested, I recommend checking them out. But after a while, I couldn't help but wonder, what if those sigils actually used the Pokemon? Well, I spoke to my frenemy Yggdrasil, who is a bit of an artist, so make sure to check out his work with the links down below. I asked him if he was interested in taking the Pokemon I picked and molding them into the sigils. He was more than willing, luckily. One small warning though, not all of the sigils that were mentioned in the original videos made it to this one, as honestly, some of them were just very similar to one another, so we nixed them to show off some other houses to get a more visual flair. Also, not all the Pokemon I originally chose were selected either. Yggdrasil has a better eye for these things and would often recommend Pokemon he felt fit the sigil better, and almost every time I would agree. Well, that's enough of me wasting your time. Let's get started with, of course, the closest thing we have to a protagonist in this series, the Starks. The original sigil for the Starks is quite simple, a sprinting wolf on a white field. So it was easy enough to change, just replace the beast with the Alolan Ninetales, though the massive amount of tails was difficult. It probably would have looked more natural if we had the Ninetales body closer to the bottom of the shield and the tails above it. However, because of the nature of the shield, that would mean we'd have to shrink the body, which I think proportion-wise looked off more often than good. Still, I think with what we had, what came out was pretty great. Next up is House Karstark, and this is one that Yggdrasil fixed. My lazy ass picked Solrock because, white sun, sun Pokemon. But since he actually has talent, he's able to connect the dots a lot better than me, and picked Glalie. His color scheme being black and white was already a perfect fit for the sigil, so just slap it on and you have a 10 out of 10 fit. More often than not, when I was given these remade sigils, I would pick the versions that took the color scheme from the Pokemon. This one, however, wouldn't be very recognizable if we had done that. Luckily, Sudowoodo has such a distinguished shape that it wasn't that big of a sacrifice. I kept jumping back and forth on if we should have its face or not. Give me your thoughts of which one you prefer. I like the face just because it makes the sword on its chest look like a tie. Now for probably the worst sigil in the north, House Bolton. God, I hate this thing. Red on pink just bugs my eyes. Luckily, Scizor has a bit more to him. The white and black accents give more variety, and Yggdrasil surprised me by going with the Mega version, which I think was a great idea, as it made the white a bit more prominent. Much better if I do say so myself, and I do of course. Let's talk about the Glovers. This sigil doesn't have a lot going with it, but of course there is beauty and simplicity. It also makes Yggdrasil's job a lot easier. Just rip off Barbaricle's head, drain the color, and slap it on the red shield, and bam! It fits like a glove. Oh, fuck, I'm so funny. Now here is the first house that didn't make an appearance in the initial video, House Dustin. Originally it was House Serwyn, but I wasn't a fan of any of the designs we were getting with Cleavor. Luckily, Yggdrasil realized that House Dustin sigil would fit far better with the Pokemon's design and color, and all it took was a crown at the top and a change of the color. Probably one of the most difficult redesigns, or ones I was most worried about, was House Manderley. But naturally, Yggdrasil messed around and came up with this design. The goofy circus seal fits surprisingly well, even if we did have to nix most of the colors to it. But I have to say, it is beautiful. Hornwood was a pretty obvious fixer-upper, but the final product turned out well enough. I don't know if I prefer it though. Personally, mooses are my favorite Cervidae, so it's really a shame that there isn't a better fit, aside from the legendary with a big-ass bull on its head. Who knows though, the longer I make these, the more I start to care less about not using legendary Pokemon. Alright, now it's the fan favorite House Mormon, and this was one of the fuck off virus threat protection. And this was one of the times where I just went with the sigil that I thought looked the coolest. Those yellow lines have no basis in the actual Pokemon design, but fuck me does it look great. Though we also have this design that's a bit more accurate, not having any lines on its body at all. With that said, honestly, I feel like the sigil resembles the new Blood Moon version of the Pokemon, which is completely by accident. This was done about a week or two before either of us knew about that scary son of a bitch. Now for the Lizard Lion, though I still don't know what the fuck that is, but that's what's on House Reed sigil. And Crocodile gelled surprisingly well, especially with the color. I was worried the dark red and bright white would clash with the more swampy green color, but it honestly doesn't make me want to claw my eyes out, which is always a plus. The disloyal bitches of House Risewell are riding in, and I love what we did. Originally, the colors were reversed to line up more with the sigil version, but I couldn't really get into it, so I asked him to switch the colors, and I'm very proud with how it turned out. I mean, granted, I contributed next to nothing, but as the idea guy, I still get some credit, right? Now we can finish off the north with my personal favorite house, House Umber, and come on guys, let's be honest, this is way better than some hairy guy in a skin suit. Come on, we all know it's true. Now let's travel down south to the Westerlands. That sentence doesn't make much sense, but it's accurate, sadly. Now starting, of course, with the Lannisters, and of course, a golden Pyroar. I'll be honest, looks a little goofy because it has that still anime-like design for the face, but overall I'm very pleased with how it translated. Now we can't just talk about the big cats, we gotta bring up the pack of dogs too. The loyal, brutal House Clegane. Taking the original pick of Houndoom was fantastic, though I don't know if I like the simple black and white or if keeping the original orange on the Pokemon was a good idea. I could go either way, so I'll let you all decide which one's superior. Now, in regards to cutting original sigils and replacing them with new ones, that was mostly because of the Westerlands. House Pain and House Lefford were cut due to the amount of changes we would need to make to either the sigil or the Pokemon that one or the other would be unrecognizable. Same thing with House Layton, but we have some great replacements, all chosen by Yggdrasil, and of course one of those replacements is one of the worst sigils I've ever seen. House Falwell is back in my videos, but we made it even worse, and I love it for that. And honestly, I can't pick out which one of these designs makes me want to kill myself more. They are all equally disturbing in my book, capturing the terrible qualities of both the sigil and the Pokemon, Mr. Mime. Thank God Yggdrasil made it up by picking an amazing sigil in Pokemon. Like House Falwell, where I can't decide which one I hate more, it's impossible for me to pick my favorite out of these designs. The house chosen was House Banefort, and the monster was Dusknoir. The orange and yellows are easily switched out and both meld well with the gray background, and the all-black design feels like a monster in the shadows ready to drag you away. I can't pick it all. Each one is perfect in its own way. And the final house that Yggdrasil submitted himself as a replacement was House Lorch. Drapion was considered, as was Skorupi, but when I was shown what it would look like with Gliscor as the substitute, it was all over from there. Now I want to quickly touch upon my favorite Westerlands house, Big Burly House Krakol, and honestly I thought we would have to go with the black and white Embor, but I think I prefer the one that keeps the original color scheme. Brown melds well with the reds and yellows, it's kind of like looking at a fireplace burning. Though now it's time for the sigil that I feel like I contributed the most to, House Brax. And what was my genius idea? Well, taking two designs that Yggdrasil made and combining them together. Yes, please, hold your applause, and let me just pat myself on the back here. I really should become a professional artist, shouldn't I? However, of course, after talking about my greatest success, we should end it with my biggest failure. I legit told Yggdrasil to change the Pokemon on the wrong fucking sigil. I asked him to replace House Swift with Quackleval, and that is exactly what he did. Though right when I saw it, I realized my mistake, as I actually wanted him to replace House Serret. Man is a bona fide professional though, and was able to save it with some minor changes. Changes I am very grateful for. And there we go. Those are all the sigils I had commissioned to use Pokemon as replacements, and I'm very happy with how every single one turned out. If you're interested in Yggdrasil's other work, again, check out the links down below. I could not have done this without him. Until then, be safe, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.